Think your retirement is safe? Think again. In just 3 states, retirees are losing over $5,000 yearly, and almost nobody notices until it's too late. 1. Vermont is quietly taking more than most retirees expect. Vermont attracts retirees for reasons that have nothing to do with taxes. The environment is calm, the scenery is appealing, and the lifestyle feels slower and more manageable compared to large urban areas. That is exactly why many people move there without taking a closer look at how their retirement income will be treated once they arrive. The financial side of the decision often comes second, and that is where the problem begins. Vermont has one of the lowest income thresholds in the country when it comes to taxing Social Security benefits. That means retirees do not need to have a particularly high income before a portion of their Social Security becomes taxable at the state level. Once that line is crossed, the impact starts building. At the same time, Vermont taxes pensions, 401k withdrawals, and IRA distributions at rates that can go as high as 8.75%. These are not isolated taxes. They stack on top of each other, affecting multiple income streams at once. When retirement income is spread across different sources, which is common for most people, the combined tax effect becomes much more noticeable. A retiree receiving a pension and Social Security can see several $1,000s leaving their account every year purely due to state income tax. The amount may not feel overwhelming on a monthly basis, but over time, it compounds into a meaningful loss. What makes this situation more difficult is that many retirees never run the numbers before making the move. They assume that since they are no longer working, their tax burden will automatically decrease. That assumption does not hold true in Vermont. The state continues to apply pressure on retirement income, and that pressure remains consistent year after year. Over a long retirement period, this becomes a serious issue. Losing $3,000 to $4,000 annually may not sound dramatic at first, but over 15 or 20 years, it adds up to tens of thousands of dollars. That is money that could have been used to cover rising healthcare costs, maintain financial flexibility, or simply reduce stress about running out of funds. Instead, it is quietly absorbed by the tax system without most people fully recognizing the long-term impact. 2. Minnesota taxes. Almost every retirement dollar. Minnesota is often viewed as a well-balanced state with strong public services, especially in healthcare. That reputation is accurate, and it is one of the main reasons retirees consider moving there. However, the financial side of the equation tells a different story when you look closely at how retirement income is taxed. Minnesota applies state income tax to pensions, 401k withdrawals, and IRA distributions with rates reaching up to 9.85%. This is one of the highest rates in the country. In addition to that, Social Security benefits are also taxed for many retirees once their income passes certain levels. This creates a situation where nearly every major source of retirement income is subject to taxation. For a retiree relying on a combination of income streams, this can feel like a constant reduction in available funds. A portion of each withdrawal is effectively removed before it can be used for daily expenses or long-term planning. Over time, that reduction becomes a consistent pattern rather than a one-time inconvenience. To put this into perspective, a retiree earning a moderate pension along with Social Security income can end up paying around $4,000 to $5,000 annually in state income tax. When broken down monthly, this is several $100s that never reaches their spending budget. That amount could have covered groceries, utilities, or other essential costs. The challenge here is that Minnesota offers real value in other areas, especially healthcare access. For some retirees, that benefit may justify the cost. But for many, the numbers simply do not align with their financial goals. Paying higher taxes only makes sense if the benefits are actively being used and are essential to the individual's situation. Another issue is perception. Many retirees assume that because Minnesota is known for quality services, the financial impact must be reasonable. That assumption can lead to decisions that are not fully informed. The reality is that the tax structure places a consistent burden on retirement income, and that burden does not disappear over time. 3. California takes the largest share of retirement income. California presents a much more visible version of the same problem. The state is known for its high cost of living, but what many retirees underestimate is how aggressively it taxes retirement income beyond Social Security. California does not tax Social Security benefits, which initially appears to be a significant advantage. However, that benefit is limited when you consider that every other form of retirement income is fully taxable. Pensions, IRA withdrawals, 401k distributions, and annuity income are all subject to state income tax. There are no special exemptions or reduced rates for retirees. The state also has the highest top income tax rate in the country, reaching 13.3%. Even retirees who fall below the highest bracket still pay substantial amounts because the overall structure is not designed to protect retirement income in the same way some other states do. A retiree with a combination of pension income and IRA withdrawals can easily lose around $5,000 or more each year in state taxes. This is not a rare scenario. It is a common outcome for individuals who have saved consistently and rely on those savings during retirement. The financial pressure does not stop with taxes. California also has high housing costs and rising insurance expenses. These additional factors increase the total cost of living, making it harder for retirees to maintain the same standard of living over time. When you look at the long-term impact, the numbers become even more significant. Over a 20-year retirement, losing $5,000 annually to state taxes results in a total of $100,000. That is a major portion of retirement savings, and it directly affects how long those savings will last. Many retirees stay in California because of familiarity, family connections, or lifestyle preferences. Those are valid reasons, but they do not change the financial reality. The state consistently takes a larger share of retirement income compared to most other options. 4. Why moving to no income tax states is not always the solution. After seeing how much can be lost in these states, the natural reaction is to look for places with no income tax. States like Florida, Nevada, Texas, and Tennessee are often presented as ideal solutions. At first glance, it seems logical. If there is no income tax, more money should stay in your pocket. The reality is more complicated. States still need revenue to operate, and when they do not collect it through income tax, they collect it through other channels. Property taxes, sales taxes, and insurance costs become more significant in these areas. For example, some no-income tax states have higher sales tax rates, which affects daily spending. Others have rising insurance costs due to environmental factors, which can significantly increase annual expenses. These costs are not always obvious during the decision-making process, but they become very real once a retiree settles in. Before going deeper into this, take a moment to subscribe if you want more clear breakdowns like this. It helps more people see the full picture instead of relying on headlines. The key point here is that eliminating income tax does not automatically reduce total expenses. It simply shifts where the money is being collected. Without a full financial comparison, retirees can end up moving to a new state and spending just as much or even more than before. 5. Pennsylvania changes the entire conversation. Pennsylvania is often overlooked because it has a state income tax on paper. That single detail is enough for many retirees to dismiss it without further analysis. That decision is usually made too quickly. Pennsylvania does not tax Social Security, it does not tax pensions, it does not tax 401k withdrawals, it does not tax IRA distributions. These are the primary sources of income for most retirees, and all of them are fully exempt at the state level. The only income that gets taxed is earned income and certain types of investment income. For retirees who rely mainly on traditional retirement income streams, the state income tax bill can effectively be zero. This creates a situation that closely mirrors states with no income tax, but with a different structure. Instead of eliminating income tax entirely, Pennsylvania selectively removes it from the sources that matter most to retirees. When you compare this to a state like California, the difference becomes clear. A retiree paying several $1,000s annually in California could pay almost nothing in Pennsylvania on the same income. That gap represents real savings that accumulate over time. The reason this is often missed is simple. People stop their research too early. They see the words state income tax and assume the outcome without understanding how that tax is applied. 6. A real financial comparison that changes perspective. Consider a married couple with a pension of $72,000, Social Security income of $24,000, and investment income of $15,000. The total income is around $111,000. In California, this couple could pay roughly $7,000 annually in state income tax. In Minnesota, the amount would still be several thousand. In Vermont, it would also remain significant. In Pennsylvania, the only taxable portion is the $15,000 of investment income. At a flat rate of 3.07%, that results in a tax bill of approximately $460. The difference is not small. It is a reduction of more than $6,000 per year. Over 15 years, that difference exceeds $100,000. The income does not change. The lifestyle does not necessarily change. The only variable is the state, and that alone creates a completely different financial outcome. 7. The trade-offs that must be considered. Even with these advantages, Pennsylvania is not perfect. Property taxes can be higher in certain areas, and there is an inheritance tax that affects what is passed on to family members. This highlights an important point. There is no perfect state for retirement. Every option comes with trade-offs. The goal is not to eliminate costs entirely, but to align them with your priorities and financial situation. For some retirees, paying higher property taxes may be acceptable if it means avoiding taxes on retirement income. For others, different factors may carry more weight. The decision depends on individual circumstances rather than a single universal rule. The biggest mistake retirees make is relying on assumptions instead of running the numbers. A state being labeled as tax-friendly does not automatically make it the best choice. The full financial picture matters more than any headline. Vermont, Minnesota, and California consistently take a larger portion of retirement income due to how their tax systems are structured. This is not based on opinion. It is based on how each state applies taxes to the most common retirement income sources. If you are already living in one of these states, the important step is understanding the cost of staying. If you are planning retirement, the opportunity is even greater, because decisions made early have a much larger impact over time. The difference between choosing the right state and the wrong one can easily reach $100,000 or more over the course of retirement. That is not a small detail. That is a major financial outcome. The real question is whether those numbers have been calculated or simply assumed. Let me know in the comments which state you are in and whether you have ever broken down exactly how much you are paying in state taxes.